The champagne glass hit the marble floor with a crack that silenced the entire room. My father's voice cut through the jazz music like a blade. I have two daughters, a famous lawyer and a beggar. I turned to Riley, standing frozen by the dessert table, her face draining of color. But here's what nobody knew. The beggar they were mocking had been keeping every single one of them from financial ruin for 5 years. My name is Jenny Morrison, and I'm 28 years old. For the past 5 years, I've lived 2 lives. In one, I'm the family disappointment, the younger daughter who can't hold down a real job, who bounces between freelance gigs and half-baked business ideas while my older sister Claire builds her legal empire. In the other life, the one nobody knows about, I'm the reason my family hasn't lost everything. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where it all fell apart. Or maybe, where it all finally came together. Thanksgiving. Lake Tahoe. My father's rental cabin that costs more per week than most people make in a month. The dining room glowed with that expensive kind of warmth, the kind that comes from designer light fixtures and a fireplace that's more decoration than function. 23 people packed around a table that could barely hold 15, all dressed in their holiday finest. My mother had insisted on mountain elegant, which apparently meant cashmere and uncomfortable shoes. I sat at the far end, wedged between Aunt Carol and my 13-year-old cousin Tyler, who spent most of dinner showing me Minecraft tutorials on his phone under the table. I didn't mind. It gave me an excuse not to make eye contact with anyone else. Claire sat at my father's right hand, naturally. She looked perfect, as always. Silk blouse, pearl earrings, hair swept into one of those effortless updos that probably took 40 minutes and 3 YouTube videos to achieve. She'd flown in from New York that morning, and somehow, she wasn't even jet-lagged. Claire didn't do jet lag. Claire didn't do anything that suggested she was human. My father stood to make a toast. This was tradition. Dad loved traditions, especially the ones where he got to talk about himself and his accomplishments. Usually, this meant talking about his daughters. I want to thank everyone for being here, he began, wine glass raised. Family is everything. It's what we work for, what we build for, what makes all the struggle worthwhile. I felt my phone buzz in my lap. I glanced down. Alert. Payment processed. $2,847 to Chase Mortgage Services. Alert. Payment processed. $1,200 to American Express. My app. Steady flow. The thing I built 3 years ago when I got tired of the feast or famine cycle of freelance income. It automatically managed my money, paid bills, predicted taxes, and, here's the part nobody knew, secretly funded my family's entire lifestyle. I look around this table, Dad continued, and I see success. I see people who've made something of themselves. I swiped the notification away and slipped my phone back into my pocket. I'm particularly proud of my daughters, he said, and my stomach dropped. I knew that tone. Claire, who just made junior partner at Morrison & Hale. The table erupted in applause. Claire smiled modestly and mouthed, "Thank you," to various aunts and uncles. And Jenny, who's still figuring things out. The applause died. A few uncomfortable laughs rippled through the room. But that's okay. Dad added quickly, his smile too bright, too forced. Not everyone can be a famous lawyer. Some people need more time to find themselves. Some people are, well, let's just say Claire got the ambition gene, and Jenny got other qualities. More laughter. Louder this time. My mother touched his arm. Richard, don't. I'm just being honest, Helen. No shame in it. I mean, I love both my daughters. I have 2 daughters, a famous lawyer and, well, a beggar who still asks us for loans. The air went out of the room. I felt 23 pairs of eyes turn toward me. Tyler stopped scrolling. Even the fire seemed to pause mid-crackle. Claire looked down at her plate. Couldn't even defend me. Typical. My father laughed, actually laughed, and took a long drink of wine. I'm kidding. Where's your sense of humor, everyone? Jenny knows I'm joking. Right, Jen? I stood up. My chair scraped against the wood floor, loud in the silence. Jenny, my mother started. I need some air, I said quietly. I walked out of the dining room, through the kitchen, past the shocked caterers, and out onto the deck. The November cold hit me like a slap, but I welcomed it. Anything was better than the suffocating warmth of that room and the lingering echo of my father's laughter. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and opened Steady Flow. 5 years of data stared back at me. 5 years of automated transfers, bill payments, emergency funds. 5 years of keeping my family afloat while they mocked me for being unstable. Total transferred, $387, 492.00. I'd paid for this vacation. I'd paid for Claire's self-funded campaign for junior partner, the wardrobe, the networking dinners, the designer briefcase. I'd paid for Dad's car lease when his business hit a rough patch 2 years ago. I'd paid for Mom's medical bills when her insurance lapsed. I'd paid for Aunt Carol's business loan when the bank rejected her application. And they called me a beggar. My finger hovered over the screen. Steady Flow had a master switch. One button to turn off all automatic transfers, all scheduled payments, all the invisible support I'd been providing. I'd never touched it. Never even considered it. Until now. I pressed the button. Disable all automated family supports, the app asked. This action cannot be undone without manual reactivation. I hit confirm. Then I called an Uber, packed my bag, and left the cabin before dessert was served. Asterisk if you're already hooked by Jenny's story, hit that like button and subscribe, because what happens next will leave you speechless. And stick around, because the real shock comes when her family discovers what she's been hiding. Asterisk. I spent the rest of Thanksgiving weekend in a hotel room in Reno, watching bad movies and eating room service. My phone exploded with messages. Mom asking if I was okay, Claire sending a curt, that was dramatic, Dad not reaching out at all. I didn't respond to any of them. Monday morning, I flew back to Denver. My apartment felt smaller than usual, or maybe I just felt too big for it. Swollen with anger and shame and something that might have been pride. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and checked Steady Flow's admin panel. 17 failed payment attempts. Dad's car lease. Declined. Mom's credit card. Declined. Claire's storage unit. Payment failed. Aunt Carol's business loan. Missed payment notice. My phone rang. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. Dad. Voicemail. Again. Claire. Voicemail. Then the texts started. Mom asterisk asterisk Jenny. Something's wrong with the bank. All our cards are being declined. Can you call me? Asterisk. Dad asterisk asterisk Jennifer. This isn't funny. Whatever you're doing, stop it. Asterisk. Claire asterisk asterisk did you do something to Dad's accounts? He's freaking out. Asterisk. I smiled. Actually smiled. Then I opened my laptop and started typing. The email took me 2 hours to write. I rewrote it 7 times, trying to find the right balance between professional and personal, between anger and dignity. Finally, I hit send. To family. Subject. Regarding recent payment issues. Hi everyone. I'm sure you've noticed some financial disruptions over the past few days. I want to clarify what's happening because there seems to be some confusion. For the past 5 years, I've been using Steady Flow, the app one built and founded, to automate my income management. As part of that system, I set up automated transfers to cover various family expenses. I did this quietly because I knew if anyone found out, it would become a thing. I wanted to help without the drama. Here's a partial list of what I've been covering. Dad's Mercedes lease, $847 per month for 28 months. Mom's Amex Platinum, average $2,100 per month for 41 months. Claire's professional expenses, wardrobe, networking, storage approximately $31,000 over 18 months. Aunt Carol's small business administration loan, $1,200 per month for 19 months. Mom and Dad's home equity line of credit, $3,400 per month for 34 months. Various emergency transfers, $43,000 total. Total, $387,492 over 5 years. I never asked for recognition. I never wanted to be thanked. I just wanted to help my family. But after Thanksgiving, I realized something. You can't help people who don't respect you. You can't support people who see you as a punchline. So I turned off the automated transfers. Effective immediately, I'm no longer covering any family expenses. This isn't revenge. This is self-preservation. If you have questions about your finances, I suggest you contact your banks, review your statements, and take responsibility for your own budgets. I love you all, but I'm done being your safety net. Jenny. My phone started ringing 30 seconds after I sent the email. I turned it off. They showed up at my apartment 3 days later. All of them. Mom, Dad, Claire, even Aunt Carol. They stood in my hallway looking like a very attractive, very angry intervention committee. We need to talk, Dad said. You couldn't have called first? I asked. You turned off your phone, Mom said. Her eyes were red. She'd been crying. I felt a pang of guilt, then remembered the sound of my father's laughter at Thanksgiving. Come in, I said, stepping aside. They filed into my small living room, so much smaller than any of their homes, and arranged themselves like a tribunal. Dad in the chair by the window. Mom on the couch. Claire standing by the bookshelf, arms crossed. Aunt Carol hovering near the door like she might need to escape. That email was quite a performance, Dad said. It wasn't a performance. It was the truth. The truth. He laughed, that same dismissive laugh from Thanksgiving. Jenny, if you've been covering our expenses, why didn't you say something? Why the secrecy? Would you have let me help if I'd asked? Silence. Exactly, I said. You would have said no. You would have been embarrassed. You would have made it weird. So I did it quietly, and I didn't ask for anything in return. But apparently, that still wasn't enough to earn even basic respect. This is about Thanksgiving, Claire said quietly. This is about every day, I shot back. Thanksgiving was just the latest example. Do you know how many times I've sat at family dinners while you all made jokes about my unstable income? How many times I've heard Dad tell people I'm still figuring things out? How many times Mom has asked when I'm going to get a real job? We were just concerned. Mom started. No. You were ashamed. There's a difference. Dad stood up. If you were really helping us, you'd have said something. This whole secret benefactor routine is manipulative. Manipulative. I felt my voice rising. I gave you almost $400,000, and I'm the manipulative one? You should have told us. Why? So you could feel guilty? So you could refuse? So you could somehow make it about how I was being inappropriate by helping you? Yes, he shouted. Because that's what adults do, Jennifer. They communicate. They don't play games. Games. I walked to my desk and grabbed my laptop. Let me show you a game. I pulled up Steady Flow and projected it onto my TV. Bank statements, transfers, payment records, all of it, laid out in stark black and white. June 2020, $3,200 to prevent foreclosure on your house after Dad's business partner embezzled funds. Dad's face went pale. September 2021, $8,700 for Mom's surgery after her insurance claim was denied. Mom looked away. March 2022, $12,000 to cover Claire's professional wardrobe and bar exam prep courses when her credit cards maxed out. Claire's arms dropped to her sides. December 2023, $4,800 for Aunt Carol's commercial kitchen rental after the health department shut down her old location. Aunt Carol started crying. Should I go on? I asked. Because I have 5 years of this. 5 years of emergencies, 5 years of bills, 5 years of keeping this family above water while you all pretended I was the one drowning. The room was silent except for Aunt Carol's quiet sobs. I built Steady Flow to help people like me, freelancers, gig workers, anyone with a regular income. I built it because I was tired of the panic, the uncertainty, the constant stress of not knowing if I could cover my bills. And then I realized it could help you too. So I did. Because you're my family, and I loved you. Loved. Mom whispered. Love, I corrected, softer now. Present tense. But love isn't enough anymore. I can't keep sacrificing myself for people who see me as less than. Claire finally spoke. I didn't know. None of us did, Mom added. That was the point, I said. I didn't want you to know. I wanted you to just be okay. To not struggle. To not worry. I wanted to protect you. By lying to us? Dad's voice was quieter now, but still hard. By sparing you the discomfort of needing your failure daughter's help. That landed. I could see it in his face. So what now? Claire asked. You just cut us off? Let us crash and burn. No, I said. I'm not cruel. I've set up payment plans for the essential stuff, the mortgage, the medical bills. Everything else? That's on you. Aunt Carol, I've connected you with a small business advisor who can help restructure your loan. Mom, Dad, I've sent you the name of a financial planner who specializes in debt management. Claire, you make 6 figures. You'll figure it out. And us? Mom asked. Where do we stand? I took a breath. I don't know yet. I'm not ready to pretend everything's fine. I'm not ready to show up for Christmas and smile through more jokes about my life choices. I need space. I need time. And I need you to actually see me, not as the family disappointment, but as the person who's been keeping us all afloat. Asterisk, the truth is finally out, but can Jenny's family accept it? Drop a comment below and tell me, would you have done the same thing? And make sure you're subscribed, because the story takes an unexpected turn that nobody sees coming. Asterisk. The weeks after the confrontation were strange. My phone stayed mostly quiet, a few texts from Mom, thinking of you, a couple from Aunt Carol, thank you for everything, nothing from Dad or Claire. I threw myself into work. Steady Flow was growing faster than I'd anticipated. What started as a tool for my friends, photographers, writers, Etsy sellers, had caught fire on social media. A TikTok creator featured it in a financial tools for creatives video, and overnight, we went from 200 users to 15,000, which meant I needed help. I hired my first employee, Marcus, a developer I'd met at a tech meetup, and moved Steady Flow out of my apartment and into a small office space in Rhino. Nothing fancy, just 4 desks and a coffee maker, but it was ours. It was real. One afternoon in mid-December, Tyler showed up at the office. My 13-year-old cousin, alone, standing in the doorway with his backpack and his hopeful smile. Tyler, how did you get here? Bus, he said. Mom doesn't know. She thinks I'm at chess club. You need to call her. I want to learn, he interrupted. About coding. About apps. About what you do. I stared at him. Why? Because everyone says you're the mess up, but you're not. You're the coolest person in our family. You built something real. And I want to know how. Something cracked open in my chest. I called Aunt Carol, assured her Tyler was safe, and told her I'd drive him home after I taught him the basics of Python. We spent 3 hours hunched over his laptop, building a simple calculator app. He was a natural, quick, curious, unafraid to break things and try again. Can I come back next week? He asked when I dropped him off. Every Tuesday after school, I said. If your mom says it's okay. He grinned. She will. She's really sorry, by the way. About everything. I know, I said. And I did. Aunt Carol had sent me a long email the week before, apologizing, thanking me, promising to do better. She was the only one who had. Christmas came and went. I spent it alone, which sounds sad but wasn't. I ordered Thai food, watched all 3 Lord of the Rings movies, and didn't think about my family at all. That's a lie. I thought about them constantly. But I didn't reach out, and they didn't reach out to me, and maybe that was for the best. Then, 2 days before New Year's, Claire showed up at the office. She looked different. Tired. Human. Can we talk? She asked. Marcus glanced at me. I nodded toward the door. He grabbed his coat and left. Claire sat down at my desk. Well, the desk we'd pulled from a thrift store, and looked around the space. This is really impressive, Jen. Thanks. I mean it. I've been following your growth. You're trending on Twitter. You have venture capitalists reaching out. How do you know that? Because 2 of them called me for references. They wanted to know if you were trustworthy, stable, serious. I told them you were all of that and more. I didn't know what to say. I owe you an apology, Claire continued. Not just for Thanksgiving, but for everything. For every time I stayed silent when Dad made those jokes. For every time I treated you like you were less serious than me just because your path looked different. For taking your money and never questioning where it came from. You didn't know. I should have. I'm a lawyer, Jen. I look at documents all day. I review finances. I audit accounts. If I'd paid attention to my own life the way I pay attention to my clients' lives, I would have seen the patterns. I would have noticed I was spending more than I earned and somehow never going into debt. I would have asked questions. Why didn't you? She was quiet for a long moment. Because it was easier not to. Because if I asked questions, I might have to admit that my perfect life wasn't actually perfect. That I was struggling. That I needed help. And lawyers don't need help. Lawyers have it together. Nobody has it together, Claire. I'm starting to realize that. She pulled out an envelope and set it on my desk. What's this? A check. For everything you spent on me. I liquidated some investments, took out a personal loan. It's all there. I stared at the envelope. I don't want your money. Then donate it. Invest it. Light it on fire for all I care. But I need you to take it because I can't move forward knowing I owe you anything. I need a clean slate. Claire, please. I took the envelope. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. For the money, yes, but more than that, thank you for caring about us even when we didn't care about you. Thank you for being better than we deserved. I felt tears stinging my eyes. I don't know how to forgive you yet. I know. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just asking for a chance to be your sister. The real kind, not the kind who only shows up for holiday photos. That might take a while. I've got time. She stood to leave, then paused at the door. Dad's been trying to write you a letter. He's probably written 30 drafts. He doesn't know how to say he's sorry. He's never been good at apologies. No, Claire agreed. But he's trying. Mom too. They ask about you every day. After she left, I sat alone in the empty office and cried. Not sad crying. Not angry crying. Just release. Spring brought change. Steady Flow expanded to 50,000 users. We raised our first round of venture capital. I hired 3 more employees, including a customer service lead and a head of marketing. We moved into a bigger office with actual conference rooms and a kitchen. Tyler started coming by 3 days a week. He'd become my unofficial intern, learning to code, sitting in on meetings, asking questions that made the actual adults in the room think harder about our product. You should hire more teenagers, he said one day. We actually understand the gig economy. All my friends are on Depop and Etsy and doing TikTok sponsorships. They need this app. He wasn't wrong. We launched a youth-focused marketing campaign that tripled our sign-ups in a month. My family started reaching out more regularly. Mom sent cards. Dad left voicemails that started awkward and got slightly less awkward over time. Claire invited me to coffee once a month. No agenda, no drama, just sisters trying to figure out how to be sisters. I didn't go back to big family dinners. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I did start meeting them in smaller doses. Lunch with Mom. A walk with Dad. Board games with Tyler and Aunt Carol. They were different now. More careful. More intentional. More present. Or maybe I was different. Maybe I'd finally learned that I didn't need their validation to know my worth. In June, I got an acquisition offer. A major fintech company wanted to buy Steady Flow for $12 million. $12 million. I called an emergency meeting with my team. We debated for hours. Marcus wanted to take it. Set for life, he kept saying. The others weren't sure. Tyler, sitting in the corner, raised his hand. If you sell, what happens to all the features you wanted to add? The scholarship program for low-income users? The financial literacy curriculum? The acquiring company might add those things, I said. Or they might not, Tyler countered. They might just want the user base. They might change everything that makes Steady Flow special. He was right. Of course he was right. But $12 million. I thought about my apartment, my student loans, my 5-year-old car that made concerning noises every time I turned left. I thought about security, stability, never worrying about money again. Then I thought about why I'd built Steady Flow in the first place. Not for money. For peace of mind. For people like me who'd been told they were irresponsible just because their income didn't arrive on a predictable schedule. I turned down the offer. We negotiated a strategic partnership instead. They'd provide infrastructure and resources. We'd maintain independence and vision. It wasn't $12 million, but it was enough to grow sustainably and stay true to our mission. Tyler hugged me when I announced the decision. You're my hero, he said. You're going to make me cry, I told him. Good. You're allowed to have feelings, you know. 13 years old and already wiser than most adults. That weekend, I drove to Lake Tahoe. Not to the rental cabin. I couldn't afford that, and even if I could, the memories were too fresh. Instead, I got a small room at a budget hotel and spent Saturday hiking alone. At the top of the trail, I sat on a rock overlooking the lake and pulled out my phone. I opened my email, found the draft I'd been working on for months, and finally hit send. To Dad. Subject: I'm sorry, draft number 47. Hi Dad. I read all 47 drafts. Mom forwarded them to me after you accidentally sent number 23 to her instead of me. She thought I should know you were trying. You don't need to keep rewriting the apology. I get it. You're sorry. You were wrong. You didn't see me clearly, and you said things that hurt. I forgive you. Not because your apology was perfect. It wasn't. Not because everything's magically fixed. It isn't. But because holding on to anger was making me someone I don't want to be. Here's what I need from you going forward. 1. Stop making jokes about my career. If you don't understand what I do, ask questions. Learn. 2. Treat Claire and me equally. No more favorites. 3. Mean it when you say you're proud of me. Or don't say it at all. I'm willing to rebuild our relationship, but it has to be different this time. I need a father who sees me, not a father who needs me to be someone I'm not. Can you do that? Love. Jenny. He called me 20 minutes later, crying so hard I could barely understand him. Yes, he kept saying. Yes, I can do that. Yes. It wasn't a Hollywood ending. We didn't hug it out and solve everything in one conversation. But it was a start. And sometimes, a start is enough. Today, Steady Flow has 200,000 users across 43 states. We've helped freelancers and gig workers manage over $470 million in income. We've partnered with community colleges to teach financial literacy. We've launched a scholarship program that sent 15 kids to coding boot camp. Tyler's starting high school next fall. He wants to major in computer science. I told him he's welcome to intern at Steady Flow every summer until he graduates. My family and I still have complicated moments. Dad still occasionally says something thoughtless. Mom still worries too much. Claire still struggles to see me as an equal instead of a younger sister who needs guidance. But they're trying. And I'm trying. And maybe that's all family really is. People who keep trying even when it's hard. Last month, we had Thanksgiving at my office. Nothing fancy. Pizza, sparkling cider, Tyler's famous brownies. Mom, Dad, Claire, Aunt Carol, Tyler, and me. 7 people who'd learned the hard way that love isn't enough without respect. Dad raised his can of soda. I want to make a toast, he said. Here we go, I thought. I have 2 daughters, he began, and my stomach clenched. 2 brilliant, successful, completely different daughters who've taught me that there's no single path to a meaningful life. Claire, you're an incredible lawyer and I'm so proud of you. Jenny, you're an incredible entrepreneur and I'm so proud of you. He looked directly at me. I'm sorry it took me so long to say that and mean it. But I mean it now. I smiled. I know, Dad. And this time, I actually believed him. Tyler started a slow clap. Everyone joined in, laughing. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. And for the first time in my life, that felt like enough. Asterisk, thanks for sticking with Jenny's story until the end. If this resonated with you, please hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Have you ever felt underestimated by your family? Drop your story in the comments below. I read every single one. And remember, your worth isn't determined by other people's opinions. You define your own success. See you in the next story. Asterisk.